everybody. Welcome to the Chensor Dynasty. My name is James Chen. I am your host here at twitch.tv/jchensor. And, I haven't streamed in a while. I've been traveling a lot, been very busy, been very exhausting, actually, traveling all over the place. Hi, kitty. And let me know also if I'm talking over this way, if it sounds okay. If it sounds okay, I know the microphone's over here, but it should be able to pick me up just fine. Obviously, the tone will sound different if I'm looking straight at the microphone or if I'm looking over here. Yeah, it's going to be a mini uncensored Trevzor, but it's going to be more of me just talking with the chat and everything like that, just hanging out and talking with people more so than me ranting about things. Just kind of wanted to do something a little bit different before I play my games and stuff like that. Just kind of wanted to, chat with you guys, talk about different topics in the FGC, because, I think it's just one of those things that people, just want to, hear, my take on certain things. And so today, actually, one of the first things I really wanted to talk about was chip kills, actually, just because this has been a big topic in the fighting game community. Auric with the subscription saying, chip kills are unfair, just like people who spam fireballs. I know Auric is obviously an old school player as well. He's somebody who doesn't mind chip kills as much. But, it's one of those interesting things. What I've discovered is that people seem to be very, very anti-chip kill these days. So, I could probably, but if you guys want to, I just want to make it a different angle than than the Tuesday show, just to make it look a little different. And shoutouts to Master PPV for the subscription. But I could do it a little bit differently. Hang on. Okay, hang on a second. Sorry. Feedback loop. Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys. That was probably not very pleasant at all. There we go. So now it's going to be more similar to Tuesday's show layout, but just me hanging around, chatting with you guys a little bit. Hang on. We'll try to do slightly different angles. Hardest thing for me is talking this way. Actually, I can probably then just change the output to this and then do this. So might want to move the other chair out of frame. Yeah. Get out of here, chair. Get out of here, chair. Ugh. Sitting in the middle of this desk is a little odd because there's like a... Yeah, it doesn't have Trevor Hoffman. Trevor Hoffman? Yeah, actually, sorry. The posters are actually super cool. Or sadly look at the chair from time to time. Yeah, but, thank you once again. I'm Max Mouse. I know that you're a big fan and everything like that, so I appreciate that. So, but yeah, this basically just is the jchensor, the Chensor Dynasty show here. The posters came from focusattack.com. They are from the line of Darkstalkers versus Street Fighter artwork that Udon did for their comics, and they're really, really nice. They're all parodies of actual posters too. I found the actual versions of all the posters at one point in time. Let me see if I can actually find them. Money movie poster classic. Right. So, for example, this is really, really kind of sick, actually. Let me add a media file here from the desktop. What did I call this file? I just saved it as whatever it was called. Here it is. So yeah, this is the actual poster over here. This is the real poster over here. Check that out. I mean, isn't that sick though? It's actually really cool. I mean, a lot of it was covered yesterday, the anime lover, but I just kind of want to talk about a little bit more. Just to talk to the chat a little bit more, have a little bit more discussion with the chat. But for example here, these are all just like parody posters of the actual artwork here. And you can see it stalks the night. It comes, that's just really, really cool. I mean, check that out. They did such a good job. Udon did such a good job with these posters, dude. It's actually really, really cool. It's really, really sick. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I kind of wanted to talk about with chip kills a little bit. Oh, hi. Hey. Look at the kitty. It's the kitty. And yeah, that's actually one of the things, anime lover. It's just like zoning and chip kills kind of go hand in hand with each other as well. The lack of chip kills is actually hurting zoning, which is one of the things that kind of bothers me about that. Ah, gee, thank you, Investigation Cone, for the subscription. Trevzor asks a question if the FGC is in decline similar to the Dark Ages. No, not at all. The FGC is doing great right now. I think it's really, really great. But chip kills, I just want to talk about. So obviously in the new Guilty Gear game, they've decided to remove chip kills. And this is a trend that's existing in a lot of fighting games these days, where you can take chip damage, but you can't die by chip. And, you know, this is actually something that kind of bothers me. Not because I think chip kills necessarily should exist in every fighting game. I really honestly think that every single game needs to be evaluated on whether chip kills should be a thing or not. The thing that bothers me is whenever someone does bring up the idea that chip kills should exist, you know, a lot of people argue that they don't like the idea of chip kills, and chip kills are something that, you know, are lame. When you die by chip in a checkmate situation, like a meaty fireball or a meaty EX uppercut or something like that, it's kind of lame. That, you know, it's unhyped that way, dying that way. It's better if you could actually, you know, earn the last hit and, you know, not kill somebody by chipping them to death, because that's not earning it. And you have better comeback potential without it, etc., etc. I really, really do feel like the thing that bothers me the most is that sentiment. That a lot of people feel like that it's unearned, that it's one of those situations where, you know, you got to earn that last hit and whatever. Because, you know, there are debates that go the other way, that I personally feel like a lot of the time comebacks are unearned because of lack of chip kill. Like, for example, someone brought up Venom, right? Venom is a scary character because once he gets you down to like a tiny bit of health, once he starts getting the pool balls going, and it's like almost impossible to beat him a lot of the times because of the way that the balls are all over the screen. It's hard to avoid chip and everything like that. And without chip kills now, people are going to make comebacks on Venom because they're slowly going to be able to try to get in on him. And even though this character is designed in such a way that he's meant to be threatening with this setup, it really hurts his style, right? A character like Dalsum, for example, gets hurt so badly by lack of chip kills because once he gets you down to slight health, he's not going to be able to kill you with fireball pressure anymore, right? That was his whole case. Now, obviously, it would make a character like Guile stronger, and people probably don't want to see Guile get any stronger. But again, it's all, a case-by-case basis. It really just depends on the game. And, right now for Street Fighter V, for example, I don't think, I don't know if Venom is going to make it back as well, Sora. I really don't think Venom is going to make it back. Just probably because the character is a little too wacky, and they probably don't want to make him that wacky anymore at this point in time. So, but yeah, see, again, if Sim has an instant overhead from decent distance from about half a screen away. And so he's got this little 50-50 mix-up on you. But again, the problem is, one, it's a risk that he has to take. And two, it doesn't matter if you have 0 health or 3 pixels or 4 pixels. That's going to kill you. There's no difference between it, right? And one of the trends that I personally don't like about the latest chip kill deaths in something like Street Fighter 4 is the fact that it does do a giant chunk close to the end of life. I had talked about this yesterday on the Tuesday show. One of my favorite things about the Street Fighter 2 games was that once you actually get to the point where chip kill becomes a danger, once your life gets really, really low, all chip damage starts only doing a pixel of chip. So no matter what, you have to have 0 health to die, right? You have to have exactly 0 health to die. It was interesting that they thought of that a long time ago. They implemented that back in Street Fighter 2 days, but they didn't implement that in Street Fighter 4, which I think is kind of a shame, to be honest. But the way that it works is, as long as there aren't infinite block stun moments, but that's the thing, right? I mean, if there's infinite block stun moments, then there's more wrong with your game than chip kills at this situation. And I think Marvel 2 Spiral and Strider Doom are amazing teams. And that's what makes them so cool and effective, is that the actual fear of chip death makes them an effective team. And it's weird, by not having chip death, I feel like even just taking chip damage at all is not very scary. Because in the end, it's kind of inconsequential. So, ST had 2 pixel chip kills. Did it really? I don't remember that happening, unless it was very specific, because you did say, Unessential, that most chip kills are 1 pixel long. 1 pixel. So, yeah, exactly. Block string infinites would be terrible. So, and that's the thing. Like, Old Sagat wouldn't be as scary without chip kills. But you know what? Old Sagat is just broken himself, right? He's a problem in himself. He's broken regardless of whether you talk about chip kills or not. And what, like I said, the thing that on the Tuesday show that I was trying to talk about the most, and the thing that kind of frustrated me the most, is the idea that chip kills are unearned, that chip kills are not rewarding, that they're not hype, right? That you'd rather see the character have the ability to make this 0 health comeback than to see chip kills. And again, a lot of people base their opinion on how things work, on the concept of one style. Like, a lot of people are probably still thinking about Street Fighter 4 chip kills, where you could have several pixels and a fireball would still kill you, or an uppercut would kill you. If it was down to the point where once you got that low on health, every chip damage was doing 1 pixel, I don't think people would mind, and it would still create a lot of tension. I remember back in the Street Fighter 2 days, whenever someone had like 3 pixels or 2 pixels, it was really exciting. It was really hype because you knew then they could only take 3 more blocks before they died. And so every time they block something, your mentally brain's going, oh God, there's one more. Oh God, there's another one. Oh, and then he's dead. And it was like super hype, and it mattered. And you had to try to avoid that. And that actually added to a lot of real excitement, because when you saw someone make a comeback in that kind of situation, especially against chip monsters, it was really, really cool. If Honda forced you into a wake-up uppercut, now, of course, granted, back in the day, wake-ups were 1 frame, but if Honda did hand slap to you when you were getting up and you managed to do a proper reversal, you were just like, good on you, right? There was even those really interesting situations where Ken mirrors, for example, that a strong uppercut beat a jab uppercut, a fierce uppercut beat a strong uppercut, but a jab uppercut beat a fierce uppercut because they would miss, and jab uppercut would land first and they could punish the fierce uppercut on landing. So whenever you got someone to 0 health in a Ken versus Ken mirror, it was like you forced everybody into a guessing game, like, are you going to do like a jab uppercut or a strong uppercut or a fierce uppercut? It was actually really, really cool. It was really, really fun. And, yeah, I mean, maybe Marvel 3 Morrigan was something that kind of hurt a lot of people. Interesting from Naleb here is that at the end, I hated SFE no chip kill. Now I feel like you must earn that chip kill baiting V-trigger. Yeah, and, you know, I talked about this before. One of the things that I don't like about that is that even if I have 0 health, and the opponent has a big chunk of life left, if I'm sitting on full resources, 1 hit on neutral is basically the same thing, right? As the 0 health guy, I don't really feel that much more scared than the opponent does, because I can still kill in 1 hit. And granted, even if there was chip kill, I could still kill in 1 hit. But if there was chip kill, there are newer win conditions for the guy who has more health. The guy who has more health should be rewarded with the ability to kill somebody in a simpler way. I just feel like that is better. I just feel like that you're rewarded for that. And again, like I said, this is particular to Street Fighter games, which is very neutral based, which is very footsie heavy, in which you can avoid these kind of things, right? Obviously, games like BB Tag and Dragon Ball and all these other games where you can barely avoid chip kill, you know, it's fine that you actually can't die by chip, and it probably works better for those games. But I feel like in a Street Fighter game, it would be better to have the chip kill. Now, obviously, you know, people have talked about different characters have different ways to implement the chip, right? Like Zangief, for example. He has literally no green hand in this game, so he won't be able to chip kill somebody. You know what? That's fine. He's never been able to. He couldn't chip kill people in hyper fighting either, right? Unless he did a point blank lariat, and nobody ever really did that. But it didn't really matter. Like, who cares? I have a command throw that reaches farther away than every other character. It's fine. Like, the fact that different characters have different abilities to take advantage of chip is the nature of fighting games. And one of the hardest things that I felt like Street Fighter V did was homogenize characters a lot, right? Everybody has a punishable sweep. Everybody has, like, you know, the same concept that you can't combo from crouching light kicks very easily. And, like, they homogenize so much that nobody has an invincible uppercut, etc., etc., etc. And that's the kind of thing that really annoys me. And yeah, Peter0611 says Akuma would be obnoxious with chip kills. And you're absolutely right. He would be very, very obnoxious with chip kills. Right now, Street Fighter V is designed in a way that adding chip kills to it directly would not be a very good idea. But I couldn't remember if you could die by chip in Grand Blue, but I think it did. So, But, you know, I like it when games have these... I really wish one character in Street Fighter V would have a more safe sweep. Like, I'm not saying, like, Cammy should get it, but Cammy has, for example, a very short-range sweep. So why not make her safer on block, etc., etc.? I like having characters with exceptions. It's one of the things that kind of makes Tekken really neat, is that Tekken has all these concepts. It's one of the things that makes Tekken hard to learn, mind you, though. But because Tekken has all these very universal concepts, but every concept has an exception from like one character or two characters, and I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, exactly. I'm not a fan of... and that's the thing, too, in Guilty Gear in particular. So, you know, Boats and Joe's mentioned that in MK11 you can save yourself from chip if you have a full defensive bar. In Guilty Gear, you have the faultless defense. That's what it was there for. It was designed to help save you from chip kills. So it's very odd to me that they decided to remove chip kills from the game. There's literally a mechanic put into the game to save you from chip kills. And like I said, if you really want to, you could just make the meter drain slower than it does when you use the faultless defense, when you use the green blocking, so that... Hi, kitty. So that, you know, the chip kills are less likely, and, you know, it would require smart usage, right? If you're blocking normals, you wouldn't use the faultless defense. You would try to turn it on only when you're about to take chip, and so it would require some skill to survive that kind of thing, and I like that. I think that would be really, really cool. Yeah, V-reversals are a weird one, say no to weebs. They're just not strong enough, in my opinion. Yeah, and that's another question, Nutacon. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's only just for pushback purposes, right? To push the opponent back further, because they're not preventing chip kills anymore. You can air block everything anyway, so I'm not really sure what faultless defense is for. Like, I would like to remove the air block everything and the lack of chip kills from Guilty Gear and make it so that faultless defense works for that. But then just make faultless defense drain a lot less meter than it currently does in modern game. Yeah, it saves your risk gauge, but it's just, it doesn't feel like it's as potent. It doesn't seem like it's as useful anymore, because it was such a heavy component of Guilty Gear, and I know they probably want to take that away because it was kind of an obtuse, vague mechanic, but, you know, it just feels like at this point in time you almost might as well just get rid of it at this point. So yeah, maybe it will end up being the same if you take extra risk damage when you air block things. Maybe you still want to green block everything in the air, but it's just weird. I don't know. It's kind of weird like that. So yeah, that's true. Some characters like Faust need to rely on that. If they even have it, right? Are they going to keep that in there? Are they going to keep that kind of stuff in there? Are they going to keep... Because remember, that Faust trick is a glitch, right? Basically, because faultless defense is 2 buttons, there's the ability to Kara cancel. There's the ability to plink it. So when you jump in the air and you hit down kick with Faust, that stops his momentum and he starts to drill. But you can do that move and immediately in 1 frame cancel the startup of the move into a faultless defense. So as soon as you hit the button, Faust stops and he starts as 2K, but then in the next frame you hit a second button, which basically you're plinking the button. So now all of a sudden he goes into a faultless defense, which is essentially neutral in the air. So the first frame stops his momentum, then he goes into faultless defense and he has access to whatever he wants. So he can do instant overheads by doing, you know, the faultless defense trick and then kick on the way down, and that gives that power to him. And I wonder if they're going to keep stuff like that. There is a potential they may get rid of stuff like that because it is a little more complex. It is kind of a legacy thing. And I know that they're thinking about trying to remove the legacy requirements, etc., etc. Well, the reason why, Boats and Joes, I would call it a glitch is because it was a glitch, but they've chosen to keep it, right? Jump install is another one. That was a glitch. And they were like, whatever, we'll keep it. we'll keep jump installs, and in fact continue to keep programming the game in the way that jump installs continue to work. But then they just basically kept it in the game. So they were glitches, then they became features. They were bugs that were turned into features as well. Also, guys, if you want to ask me questions and stuff, feel free to put in at jchensor in the chat as well, to make sure that I do see the question, because that would be easier. That will make it easier for me to see the question as I stare at the camera and the microphone, etc. They specifically are hiding something about Roman cancel. I don't know what that exactly means, Boats and Joes. Yeah, the cancels of normals into special moves was a glitch. I think in that article, the dialogue history where a bunch of people talked about it, they found it, and it was a glitch, and they kept it. In fact, Seth Killian told me at one point in time that Viper's ability to cancel Seismo was a glitch that he told them to keep in the game. So Seismo being able to cancel ching 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 fake like that was actually a glitch. And Seth liked it and said that was actually really cool and probably something that Viper would need, and so she kept it. So that's actually really, really cool. Yeah, I don't know what blue RC means exactly, but they said something, you can do crazy stuff with Roman cancel, but we don't want to tell you yet. Interesting. Okay. So there's one more thing you can do with Roman cancels they haven't announced. Okay. Interesting. But yeah, back to chip kills, one of the things that makes me worried about the lack of chip kills is it really does hurt, archetypes, right? Now, obviously, as we mentioned, whatever, that's fine, because mechanics don't necessarily shouldn't be beneficial to everyone. But I just feel like zoners in general become that much weaker. So, for example, Dhalsim in Super Turbo, well, yes, he's kind of a broken character. I think he's the best character in the game, along with Claw/Vega. If he didn't have the chip kill with Fireball, once you got to low health, all of a sudden you stop caring about blocking fireballs, right? If I have a tiny chunk left and he's throwing fireballs at me, I'm not going to neutral jump his fireballs. I'm just going to walk up and block them and keep trying to find ways in. By the time you get back down to about this chunk, all of a sudden your brain shuts off on whether you have this much health or 0 health. Because at that point, it's just logic just to start blocking the fireballs, because trying to avoid the fireballs is going to get you killed. So you would rather just sit there and block it into 0 health, as opposed to trying to maintain that little bit of health you have so you can block more emergency special moves, That's kind of, one of the things that was, that lack of chip kill creates. When you have this much health left, your strategy, you actually feel safer in a weird way. You actually feel less like you want to avoid special moves. Like when you have this much and you're taking chip damage, you're kind of concerned. But by the time you get here, where one crouching medium kick is going to kill you, you stop caring whether or not you're blocking special moves, because you're going to die by one hit, so you would rather block special moves. So in a way, getting from, a tiny chunk of life to 0 health, when you have a tiny chunk of life, you're actually safer. I feel like you actually feel more secure with that little health than you are with a little bit more health. It's just by the time you get to that little bit of chunk where one poke is going to kill you, all of a sudden the life doesn't matter anymore. And that's one of the things that really kind of bothers me. How are throws and high-low mix-ups in Guilty Gear generally? Throws used to be 1 frame, so throws were really, really strong for certain characters, and a lot of characters had command throws. High-low was a big deal in Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear has always been one of the craziest high-low mix-up games. There's a lot of brutal high-low mix-ups in that game. So, let me see. Do I think removing 1 frame throws will have a huge impact on gameplay? I do and I don't. The thing about it was that One frame throws were really powerful because you could throw people in the middle of block strings really well. You could throw bad meaties really, really well. It forced people to have tighter jump-in strings off of their instant air dashes. Otherwise, they became vulnerable to throws. However, those situations were very specific, and once you got used to them, there were ways to get around them. A lot of characters just had throw invul moves, right? So like Baiken had that kick where she like just lifts up her leg and slides forward. That move was just throw invul naturally. So there was a lot of ways to counter a lot of things. You could throw Johnny's 6K, for example, where he slides and kicks. You could throw it a lot easier on reaction. You probably can't do that as much. Run-up throw is probably not going to be as strong because some characters could actually run throw pretty decently. But the thing about it is, with the changes with the gameplay overall being less hectic, I don't know if that's going to be as big of a problem. So, for example, if you instant air dash at people, before you had to make sure that you were you did like kick, punch, kick, slash to make sure that you got the latest, possible hit. But now you can't even Gatling from punches and kicks into slashes and heavy slashes. So it's probably going to be kind of a moot situation anyway. You're just going to have different strings that you use when you instant air dash in. For example, SNK inputs are nuts, but not only are they nuts just because they put in weird codes, like the actual codes for the move are kind of weird, but they just read inputs really interesting. Now, they fixed that a lot in 14. They didn't have a lot of the old KOF 13 and previous weird input glitches that were just basically features in the game. Samurai Showdown is also another one that got rid of a lot of those things. However, Samurai Showdown introduced a lot of their own input glitches. Like, for example, running forward and trying to do a backwards uppercut is really hard because if you run forward and do backwards uppercut, you come out with forward uppercut sometimes or something, and it's like, excuse me? I mean, you saw it at Canada Cup this last weekend. Andy OCR had a bunch of input errors, and a lot of that comes from just the SNK's wonkiness with the way that the inputs are. So, yeah, and interestingly enough about Guilty Gear, the combos being long, it's like it's certain characters, and then some characters didn't even really have that long combos, but then people just figured out ways to do long combos. It's really interesting because in my brain, the combos in Guilty Gear are very long, but then I think of guys like Chip, and I think of guys like Eno, and then, you think of characters like that, and you're like, geez, these combos are actually really long. But, like, characters like Raven didn't have particularly long combos, right? Johnny had some crazy coin loops in the corner. Yeah, some of the characters had some really, really long combos and stuff like that. But, so I wouldn't mind seeing them shorten down the combos. I'm just not sure I like the way that they're doing it. So, what are my thoughts on additional sequels of fighting games having certain legacy characters, normals, and specials removed? I think it's fine. It was something that I learned to be okay with thanks to Vampire Savior. Because Vampire Savior was one of the first fighting games where they just excised a bunch of special moves. Like, Felicia was the Sand Splash, and she had the little bouncing roll. And Victor had the dash kick and the dash punch, where he slid forward like this. And then, Sasquatch had the fireball where he stretched his mouth and he shot the fireball across the screen. And they got rid of all of those things, right? Like, Sasquatch all of a sudden now just had this puff in front of his face. Victor lost all of his Sonic Boom moves except now one where his head just grew to gigantic size, and then Felicia, just didn't gain this Neko punch thing where she threw the ball and attacked it. And, at first I was like, why would you change this? This is terrible. But it actually weirdly did a good job preparing me for the future-proofing me, as you will, to being okay with all games like changing legacy stuff. And, I don't mind that. But yeah, like Slayer isn't even that long of a combo. Like Boats and Joe says. Don't you feel like stage transitions should extend combos like Tekken? The current reward is weird. I actually thought of a pretty sick reward for stage transitions. I think this would actually make stage transitions super cool, even if they don't extend it. One, you can make it so that they extend the combo, right? So if they extend the combo, but I'm pretty sure one of their goals was to make sure that once it happens, you weren't trapped in the corner anymore. I think they were trying to help people escape the corner from being beat up. My idea for the stage transition is not to give super meter, not to give tension gauge, but you should be rewarded with half a chunk of your burst gauge. The burst gauge is really, really valuable in the game, and it builds up very, very slowly. And if you just use the burst, that would actually propel you to try to hit. Shoutouts to Dio Stando for the subscription. Thank you. Thank you for the subs. Thank you for the sub for the 3 months here. But if you gained burst meter, I think that would be really cool, because then if you have a full burst gauge or if you're almost full, you can decide not to do it. But if you just use the burst or you're halfway full and you really want that because you're about to die and you want that one last chance, I think that would be super cool if they just made it so that the stage transition gave you a bunch of burst meter, because that would be something that you would definitely want, because then you would also be able to keep it between rounds. So if it was at the end of a round, you could do it just to give yourself burst for the next round, etc. And that way you could have more off, and burst would become more of a free form usage kind of thing if stage transitions were there. So oh, my cat is attacking my finger through the table hole. But I can't show you guys because I can't move. I can't adjust the camera low enough. But there's like one of those table holes that you can put the wires through because it's meant to be a computer desk. And my cat is on my lap currently, which you can't also see as well. But then that means she's attacking. Ow! Oh my god! Alright, do not play with cat like that anymore. Ow. I don't know if you guys can see the blood on my finger now. Oh god. I got chip killed by cats. Oh, well, that's totally my own fault, Quincy. That's totally my fault. That has nothing to do with the cat. I'm playing with my cat knowing she has claws because, like, I'm an idiot, right? That's not anything wrong with the cats. It's just me being stupid. You can't hit a cat for doing something like that. It's totally my fault. I'm the idiot, right? I'm the one who's being stupid about it. Ooh. Ow. Anyways. One-time use danger time activation. What are you trying to do here, Nutacon? What are you trying to do? But I think getting burst meter would actually be really, really cool. Yeah, the Terry stuff is actually really, really cool. Problem is I was focused on winning when I should not even care about winning. Yeah, that's one of the toughest things about online playing altogether, Water Kirby. Games just don't do a good enough job to make it so that you want to just keep playing. Right? I mean, that's the thing. Because the ranked mode is so focused on nothing but your ranking points. And I think that they should change it so that there's a lot more to it than that. So shout outs to Oni Ramen for the subscription here. But again, like I said, I'm not here to tell you that every game should have chip kills. I'm not here to tell you that chip kills are better. You know, old school. You guys are new school babies. You can't take chip kills. Like, the whole point is that, you know, it really just depends on the game. And chip kills are fine, right? And it's not a universal statement that chip kills are unearned and stuff. So, for example, if I uppercut you and you hit the ground and I throw a meaty fireball at you and you die, you know, That's the way it works, right? That's just how it works. And it's interesting because even in Street Fighter 4, in a game with chip kills, landing chip ultras was almost impossible because so many characters had ways to get away from that with their own EX invincible moves and stuff like that. You almost never saw meaty ultras for the kill, because there was always so many ways to avoid it if the opponent had meter. Even in a game like Street Fighter 4 where chip kills were possible, it was really hard to chip kill people in that game. And, you know, like I said yesterday, the interesting thing is people are like, oh, but it's not hype when you die by a chip kill or whatever like that, right? Like by a meaty fireball. But like I said, if the uppercut did 1 pixel more damage and you died, you would have been hyped for the good uppercut, right? Now, obviously, the argument is, oh, okay, well, it gave them a pixel left. I mean, it gave them 0 health. They were still alive. They should have the chance for a comeback. Yeah, sure, but then you consider that in the situations where they have 1 pixel left, right? So if you uppercut them and they have 1 pixel, they can block 1 meaty fireball and then they can survive. If they implement the Street Fighter 2 method where the last few chips only do 1 pixel. And then the other thing, too, that's really, really cool about that situation, too, is, hang on, I forgot what I was going to say. So I'm going to check out this link here from Haru Haro. I don't know what this is. WoW versus Daigo epic comeback. Probably have seen this a long time ago. But, we can watch this together here. So if we watch this match here, let's take a look at this, shall we? Turn this volume down. Here we go. Okay, so WoW has no more life. Like, knowing that there's chip kill in this game, how is this not, like, high tension right here? Daigo's already messed up. He's just not anti-aired at all. Oh, dang. God, Daigo hasn't even gone for a wake-up uppercut. Because there's so many ways to avoid. You can backdash to avoid those uppercuts, too. Oh, my God. It's always funny how the Japanese chats always have the ability to, like, write stuff all over the screen like that and stuff like that. But again, you know, it's just different situations, right? Like, would that comeback have been as exciting if there wasn't chip kills? Probably not. To be honest with you, knowing that at any point in time, Daigo could have killed him with just 1 good block string into uppercut or block string into fireball is really nice. And like I said yesterday on the chat, there are times where I've seen many rounds where someone gets the opponent down to 0 health and they become so focused on landing that 1 normal that they can cancel into a special for the chip kill that it actually hurts their gameplay. Like, the fact that that's a different win condition all of a sudden. You've added a new win condition, which is just land a bufferable normal, right? Like, as soon as you do that, that's kind of neat. You added a different win condition, and now all of a sudden the game changes, right? That's another thing that I don't like about lack of chip kill, is that when you have, like, 4 pixels or no health or whatever like that, the win conditions don't change. The gameplay doesn't change, right? The fact that chip kills create a different win condition creates a different thought process and different kind of tension and a different game all of a sudden in the 0 health situations. When you have 0 vital, you're playing a different game all of a sudden. You can't even block normals that you know are cancelable. You can be in range where you can block something like an 8-on far standing heavy kick, but as soon as you get in range where he can cancel crouch medium punch into Jaguar kick, you might die. If it's not a true block string, you might uppercut in between, but then it's super hype. Without the chip kill, then you just take it and whatever. You're just back into whatever situation you're in, etc., etc. And that's the kind of thing that I like about chip kills is it creates a different thing. It like all of a sudden a different kind of game comes into play. A different win condition shows up, and now all of a sudden the strategy of the game changes, and that can affect both sides. I have seen the person with all the health left lose because they become so obsessed with trying to land that chip kill that they just drop all their strategy and then they end up dying, right? And so now you have to have this extra layer. Without the chip kill, everyone just keeps playing the same way that they were playing before. Like, the only difference now is, oh, maybe I can hit you with an overhead. And that's like it, right? That's like the whole entire difference. And that's not exciting, right? If you have little health left and someone dies by an overhead, nobody sits there and goes, oh, that wasn't exciting. That was boring, right? Like, no, because you know that's the win condition. And so when they get hit by it, you're like, oh, it's exciting. And so when you actually chip someone to death, that's exciting. When you see them 0 health and the guy finds a way to get in there for the crouching medium kick into the upper, it's actually kind of exciting like that. So, yeah, and exactly. I like having the reward for having the lead, just like Say No to Weeb says. And that's the thing, is like I really, really want to have it so that you're rewarded for having that life lead. The person with the life deficit should be scared, should be more scared. So for in games like Blaze Blue Cross Tag, you know, without having chip kills is cool. That's fine. You don't need chip kills in that game because there's just so many ways to open the opponent up that, you know, by the time you have 0 health left, you're basically dead. Same thing for Tekken, right? When you're Tekken, basically you die by chip as well, which is the unreactable lows, right? In Tekken, basically, unreactable lows, according to all the Tekken players, is like chip death, right? If you think of it as chip death, it's kind of the same thing. And so that's why it's so clutch when someone gets the low parry in those situations, or the hop kick over the low, or manages to block it and punish it with the while standing, you know, fours and stuff like that. It's really, really cool, because that's in the same thing in Tekken. When you have no health left, I call it almost an unwinnable situation, because literally a down forward 1 or a down 4 is going to kill you. And it really is just a 50-50, and it sucks, right? So normally the whole entire time you play Tekken, you'll like get hit by a down 4 and you're like, whatever, keep fighting. Get hit by one of those moves like a Kazumi down back 3. You get hit by a Fang down 2. You get hit by those and you're like, oh, okay, he's poking at me. I gotta read the low pattern, whatever he hit me, that's fine, I keep going, right? You can react to stuff like snake edges that do a lot more damage, that lead to combos and stuff like that. But the unreactable lows, you kind of take them and try to block them whenever you, and avoid them whenever you can. But as soon as you get down to the point where you have no health left, all of a sudden everything changes. You can't take that anymore, and now you're just trying to run away from them and not be in that position where you have to take that 50-50. It's the exact same thing with chip kills, right? It's the exact same kind of situation. Now, the difference is that there are no KO situations like a meaty fireball that will kill you, right? Which is what a lot of people don't like. And yeah, in that case, maybe we just add an extra mechanic that just makes it so that you can do something skillful to avoid chip damage, right? Or something that costs meter. So make it like Mortal Kombat 11, where there's actually a little bit of ability to spend meter, like you block it, and then, or like I said, I even say just have your stun meter build up. And if you just block too many special moves, the stun meter eventually fills up, and then you fall dizzy anyway and you die. So you can take a few of them, and if you can avoid blocking anything else, any other special moves during that time, you can actually recover the health. So let's say you are at 0 stun, and then you block a special move with 0 health. It fills up halfway and it starts draining again. And then you block another one, it fills up halfway and it starts draining again, etc., etc. I think that would be really cool. Yeah, and it's true, Boats and Joes. You know, spend more energy on just picking games that do things that we like rather than throwing pennies into the developer wishing well. Yeah, but I mean, we've seen already, you know, how much, you know, voices like Sajam, you know, he's talked about the netcode thing, and it's just kind of like spurred this giant netcode thing, and now everybody's talking about it everywhere. It's important to talk about these things, and it's important also to educate the minds of what players are thinking out there, because the players' voices are heard. And as much as people don't like to admit it, Street Fighter is a product of the people's voices, right? I hated uppercut FADCs. I hate invincible backdash. I hate throw option selects. I hate crouch text. I hate this. I hate that. I hate everything. I hate invincible uppercuts. Street Fighter V is a product of what everybody hated in Street Fighter 4. So as a result, Street Fighter V ended up as a game that people disliked even more, right? And why did that happen? It's because people don't understand what they actually hate. That's the thing. People don't understand what they actually hate. Early in Season 1 in Street Fighter V, everyone hated wake-up jabs. Everybody hated wake-up jabs. You don't see people complaining about it anymore because wake-up jab was never the problem. Wake-up jab was never the problem. The problem was the fact that there's a quick rise and a back roll that was designed to make it so it was hard to meaty somebody, so wake-up jabs were very strong, right? Wake-up jabs were not the problem, but if you let the voices go out there and complain about it, then it actually goes to the point where everybody starts parroting the same thing. Everybody says, oh, wake-up jabs is the problem. Wake-up jabs are stupid. And they don't realize what the actual problem is. Invincible uppercuts were not a problem, but everyone complained about them when they didn't have them. So everyone complained about it. Now nobody has them, right? And it's stupid. It's lame this way. It's like not fun. And so what happens is, if you don't talk about these things, if people who haven't been playing fighting games for 20 some years don't talk about this and, you know, try to help people understand that what you hate isn't actually the problem, then we're going to end up in a situation where people complain about something that isn't actually the problem, and then when they fix it, now it's worse. It's worse. So, I actually... Right, exactly. So no more one-frame links. So now everybody has super easy combos, right? I don't think one-frame links are fun, right? Like, I only thought one-frame links were okay because plinking existed. If plinking didn't exist, then one-frame links I thought would have been super annoying to have to deal with, especially for characters like Vega and Guile, who their bread and butters required one-frame links on their light buttons. So unless you modified your joystick, you didn't have access to plinking to make it easier. If your one-frame link was on heavy or mediums, that was actually not as bad because plinking actually was a cool technique that helped you overcome that problem and turned it into a two-frame link. But the thing about it is, okay, so everyone complained about one-frame links. Everybody complained about uppercut FADC. And so as a result, the message that has been received in many fighting games is we don't want complicated combos. And so they just made it so that there's no creativity in combos anymore. As opposed to making combos have an ability to do better damage as a harder combo, but only slightly. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, you could make it so that the easier B&Bs do decent, like 90 to 95% of the damage of the complex characters, right? That is something that Skullgirls does well. Like, everybody in Skullgirls can do a very basic combo, but then there's the more complex combos, and then in the end, it was more important to have the resets in Skullgirls anyway. They did add more complex stuff back in with later characters, Boats and Joes, and yes, I agree. That's why I like a lot of the new characters. It's why I like Poison, why I like Lucia, why I like Honda, why I like G, why I liked Manat, right? So I like the fact that they brought a lot of that stuff back, and that was really cool. It's why Manat was like one of my favorite characters for the longest time. Is because I just it was so cool to have something that I could practice finally for once. So, you know, the reason why I'm frustrated with people complaining about chip kills being unhype, being unearned, being unrewarded, is not because I think that they're wrong, that, you know, that having no chip kills is a good thing. Like I said, it depends on the game. Some games that absolutely have no chip kills, right? The reason why I'm frustrated about it is because it's a misinformed situation, right? Chip kills not being hype, not being earned are both false statements, right? Because on the opposite end, then that means comebacks are not earned, right? But then they'll be like, no, the comebacks are completely earned. Well, yeah, same thing. The chip kills are absolutely earned if you got them, right? That's just the thing, right? It's not an either or. You can have chip kills earned, you know, or comebacks can be earned or not earned, whether there's chip kills or not. You know, if there is a chip kill or not a chip kill, if you get your KO against the enemy, it's earned. Everything is earned, right? Because everybody is living under the same system, right? If it was just that only projectiles could chip kill and nothing else could chip kill, maybe you'd have an argument that was unearned, because then you're like, half the characters can't even chip kill at this point in time, right? And only these guys can. Why is that a thing, right? The real thing is just that a lot of people just don't like dying by chip. That's just what it is. They just don't like dying by chip. But if they understand the concept and how the game changes, once you get to the point where there actually are chip kills, then you understand and appreciate the chip kills, and you feel like they're even more earned by the players who manage to get the chip kills. That's the whole point, right? That's the whole main thing. Is that once you start understanding how the chip kills play into things, you start getting more hype about it. When you watch Tekken and you see the chip kill, when you see the low kills or the low parry, you understand it, right? Because you just understand Tekken, that it's such a dangerous situation. You get hype about it. And so if you're playing a Street Fighter game where the chip kills are possible and you understand how easy it is to chip someone, then you realize it's really not as easy as you think, and then the person who actually lands the chip earned it, right? And that's the thing. It's like when you understand the system, you understand the risks and the rewards, and you understand why it's so great that they actually... The threat of chip will get someone to jump at you so you can uppercut them, and that's actually super cool, right? The problem that I have right now with the entire chip kill discussion, is that the people who don't like chip kills, I feel like, are misinformed when they talk about that it's not hype and that it's not an earned victory. It is absolutely hype. It is absolutely earned. And it's kind of like what David said yesterday. It's both ways. No matter what the rule is, it's good both ways, right? It's good both ways. If a game doesn't have chip kills, we'll deal with it. We'll learn how to get around it. It's just, I'm afraid, in my own personal view, the only reason why I prefer chip kills is because it creates a different endgame meta, because it also empowers zoning characters a little better. And I actually think that it rewards players for having a lead. But I understand that that's a complete opinion. That's my opinion on the matter. I'm not saying that this is why every game should be that way, because I think if, you know, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle had chip kills, that would be awful. I think that would be awful. But in a game like Street Fighter, I think those things would be very, very good. So that's kind of where I stand. And the reason why I talk about these things, the reason why I talk about things that, you know, are almost kind of like wishing well kind of things, is because I'm hoping that I can get people to understand this so that they don't argue things in a way that is misinformed, that affects future games, that creates a situation where they monkey's paw themselves and get what they want, and turns out that they don't like it because they don't actually understand what the problem actually is. And that's kind of the way it works. So and that's, cool cat, but that's the thing, right? I don't even think that that's necessarily true. You know, it's fed up because chip kills help one kind of player, no chip kills helps the other kind of player. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think chip kills helps everybody. Obviously, it doesn't help certain characters, but that's fine. You make your choice when you pick your character all the time on whether or not they have certain tools or not, right? If you're going to be mad that your character has no way to chip kill people, then you should be mad that your character has no Wake Up EX uppercut. Right? You've just accepted the fact that if you play Zangief, that if you play Mika, that if you play, certain characters, Poison, you don't have a Wake Up EX. You just don't. And that's just part of the game, because for some reason in your mind, it's okay to accept the fact that not everybody has a Get Off Me Wake Up EX option. But for some reason with chip kills, all of a sudden you're like, man, my character doesn't have a chip kill, grah! And then you're mad, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? You can't be mad when your character doesn't have something, because that's your decision when you pick the character. You know what tools they have, and you accept it. And in fact, again, I like that variety, right? I'm fine with characters not having certain powers. That's always a better thing, right? Hi. I hope you guys heard that. Ooh, ow. Ow. Ooh. My foot is asleep. My leg is asleep because I was sitting cross-legged on the chair and the cat was sleeping on my leg. Ooh. Yeah, but I think it's better that SF4... I like SF5 Poison way more than SF4 Poison. It's not even a question. I hated Fireball Poison so bad, dude. I thought Fireball Poison was such a terrible character design. I know it was based off of Final Fight Revenge, but you don't want to base anything off of Final Fight Revenge, to be honest with you. Yeah, that works too, Boats and Joes. That works too. But like I said, I like MK11 system because there's chip kills in that game, but they added this little extra layer with it. Now all of a sudden people are okay with the chip kills. Yeah, SF4 Poison would be messed up in Street Fighter V, so... Kitty. Look at this bud. Look at this butthead. What a butthead. Oh, man. Anyways, does anybody have anything else to ask me about this topic? Again, my biggest concern about chip kills is just that I just don't want people to have misinformation. I don't want them to spread the argument that they see other people write, that it's unhype, that it's unearned, because to me that's a false argument. And really, we have to boil down, if chip kills are that much of a problem, then you have to boil the chip kill problem down to something else in the game, right? That's just what it is. It's not the fact that chips kill that's not cool. It's the fact that it just happens way too often. So, and yeah, I mean, it does require a ton of skill to chip kill somebody. And like I said, it's just one of those situations where, I mean, you have the Kappa face, so I know you're joking a little bit, but also, you earn that chip kill. You absolutely earn that chip kill. If you uppercut someone to 0 health and you get a meaty fireball and they die, you absolutely earn that situation because you got them to 0 health in the first place. They should be in trouble for having no health. You should have an advantage for having more health, and that's just my opinion. That's my argument on why you should have chip kills. But I'm not saying that if no chip kills exist, that it's a bad game, that all of a sudden everything is ruined. I just personally don't like it as much, right? But that's my argument to it. That's my logic to it. And, it's not just like, oh, it's less hype. It's, I've said comebacks I think are more hype without it. But, again, comebacks can be hype in every situation, right? It's just a different kind of hype. It's a different understanding of the situation is all it is. So... Under Night, I do not believe has chip kills. I don't think that it does. Does Power Rangers? Power Rangers definitely has chip kills, right? Yeah, Naleb, Guilty Gear 2020 does not have chip kills, so a lot of people have been talking about that. Dude, everyone's been talking about Power Rangers, and how good that game is. And for the fun time I played it compared to what I see now, it looks like it's a completely different game. And it's like, ooh, I actually really want to mess with that game now, because that game looks pretty sick. But it's just hard to find time. There's so many damn games to play, dude. There's just so many games to play. And it's really, really hard to find the time to play these games. Hang on a second. Ah, no! Failed. I tried to get you guys a cat cam because the cat was being adorable and I was rubbing his belly, but I failed on that. So never mind. Unless he jumps back down on the table and starts getting his belly. Ooh, stop hitting the microphone. But if you guys, yeah, I was going to do that right now, Instant Riot. If you guys have no other questions or something else that you want to talk about it, what I want to do now is do my Teppen polls. So let's do this. Let's do Teppen Devil Awakens card polls. So I'm going to change the category to Teppen. Oh, God, look at you. Look at you. Hang on a second. Before we start that, we're going to do cat belly rub stream here. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this booger over here. Oh. Oh. Look at this. Oh, I'm just playing drums on my cat. Bongos on my cat's stomach. Oh, God, what a boy. What a boy. Oh.